Hello everyone, my name is Larren. I'm currently studying in Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, and this is my video for the book review which I had undertaken during the fourth semester. So the book that I have chosen is The Discovery of India. This book was written by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, while he was held in prison at the Ahmednagar fort from 1942 to 1944. Emphasizing his loneliness, Jawaharlal Nehru discovered the time to bring back his creative passion through this book. He dedicated this book to the inmates of the Ahmednagar jail. This book is considered to be a jumble of historical facts, philosophical speculation, and essays on the various themes of India. The culture of India is one of the oldest in the world, around 5,000 years. There is a common saying about India that unity in diversity. India is a diverse country where people of many religions live in peace. The Discovery of India, written by Jawaharlal Nehru, is a testament to India's rich cultural heritage. The first half of the book revolves around the various historical events that occurred in India, and the second half dwells around the freedom battle fought by the various freedom fighters of India against the British Empire. This book invokes in us a sense of patriotism and pride for our nation. All these factors are the reason why I've chosen this book and which makes this book a must read. The book as a whole contains 10 chapters. Let's look at them individually. The first chapter is Ahmednagar Fort. This chapter starts off with Nehru explaining about his life at the Ahmednagar Fort under imprisonment. During that period, war was waging worldwide, leading to deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. Another effect of this was famines all over India. He expressed his sympathy for all the people dying due to starvation. He also expressed his firm belief in democracy. The main thing to take away from this chapter is how we can use past as an example to learn and not repeat the mistakes people made previously. By quoting him, he said, "The roots of the present lay in the past. If the past had a tendency to become the present also sometimes receded into the distant past and assumed its statuesque appearance." This scientific outlook towards life and tackling every situation head on are some of the things we also can implement in our day to day lives. The second chapter is called Badenwiller Lawson. In the second chapter, we get to know more about the personal side of Nehru. During one of his sentences in prison, he had received news that his wife Kamala Nehru was in critical condition, leading to his temporary release. When he was spending time with his wife during these days, he reminisced his whole life and looked back at his marriage. Sharing an incident, he said, "Most of us menfolk were in prison, and then a remarkable thing happened. Our women came to the front and took charge of the struggle. Women had always been there, of course, but now there was an avalanche of them, which took not only the British government, but their own menfolk by surprise." He expressed his thrill when he got to know this news. Looking back at these times made him a bit emotional and invoked in him a sense of pride and patriotism. Jawaharlal Nehru had to leave his wife in Switzerland and return to India to continue fighting for independence. And it was during this time that Kamala Nehru unfortunately passed away. The third chapter, The Quest. This is where the book really starts picking up. The panorama of India's past, nationalism, the search for India, Bharat Mata, the variety and unity of India, all these reflect the beauty and glory of the Indian civilization. Reading through the pages, we can easily get astounded with the rich history and diversity of India. Nehru introduces us to concepts like nationalism and internationalism and the importance of their coexistence. Quoting Nehru, "India, for all her intense nationalistic fervor, has gone further than many nations in her acceptance of real internationalism and the coordination, and even to some extent the subordination of the independent nation state to a world organization." Now we come to the fourth chapter, The Discovery of India. This chapter beautifully describes the history of India. Anyone who reads the book can read it without any boredom throughout the entire text. This is because the book isn't merely a history textbook. Here we don't come across a bunch of facts. Neither do we recollect all the years or names. But this book combines the vision of the author and enlightens the reader by the knowledge on the culture and tradition of India. At the same time, it shows their enthusiasm. The key historic events covered in this chapter are the Indus Valley Civilization, the coming of the Aryans, Hinduism, various epics like Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, and emperors such as Ashoka. Through this book, we get a complete picture of India through the ages, and it shows us, and all these events are what make India what it is today. Continuing with the history of India is the sixth chapter, Through the Ages. This chapter covers nationalism and imperialism under the Guptas and the various emperors in South India. During the times described in this chapter, India was a land of intense turmoil and warring divisions. Though this is true for majority of the world, however, unlike other parts of the world, India was primarily peaceful, but due to various foreign invasions, this situation drastically changed. This shows the process of Indianization started from then itself. Also, during this time, Indo-Aryan culture emerged. India became a land which absorbed various cultures, races, and ethnicities. Some of the famous kingdoms in South India were the Andhras, the Shakas, the Chalukyas, the Rashtrakutas, the Pallavas, and the Cholas. The southern kingdoms had great trade links and an extensive network of navy and ship trade. Nehru reminds us that it is very important for us to understand one thing, that it is not as if India was continuously under foreign attacks. There were many periods of peaceful developments. Some of the kingdoms also lasted for centuries. Although the author puts to rest the speculation that British brought peace in India. That was a blatant lie, since before Pax Britannia, our nation was much more peaceful and orderly. He very eloquently writes how India always respected people of thought and thoughtfulness rather than people with sword and money. Moving on in Indian history comes Chapter 6, New Problems. The events in this chapter include the Arabs and the Mongols, the Indo-Afghans, South India, Babur, growth of mixed culture, the Indian social structure. Through the Arabs, Mongols, we come to the golden time of the Mughal Empire, and the lives of Babur, the Marathas, Akbar, etc. all flash before our eyes. Moving on with these stories, he leads us into the path of the colonial times of the British rule, how they went from entering the country as traders to building a colonial empire. The simplicity and tactfulness in the entire description of the writer is worth praising, and it gives the reader a clear picture of the past during that time. All this and many other instances show that in this book, the author has brilliantly captured the essence of Indian history through the ages. After giving us an idea of Indian history, the first half of the book ends and the second half commences with Chapter 7, the last phase. The final 4 chapters of the book can be clubbed into one. It pictures the real scenario of the Indian freedom movement during the 1940s. In spite of all the barriers and limitations, Indians were enthusiastic and had an overwhelming desire for independence. After giving the comprehensive picture of this movement, from the time it had begun until the time it had gained momentum, as well as the final years, Nehru turns his mind towards the future of India as he foresaw the freedom of India in the near future. He said, "There's a great deal of pessimism in India today and a sense of frustration, and both can be understood, for events have dealt harshly with our people and the future is not promising. But there's also below the surface a stirring and a pushing, signs of new life and vitality, and unknown forces at work." These chapters give us a beautiful insight into the friendship between Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, the coming of the Second World War, and the final phase of the freedom movement after the war. The book, however, couldn't go any deeper into the freedom struggle as it was written a decade before India actually attained independence. This book is an account of the journey of Nehru to discover India for himself. Finally, to sum up the course of this book, Discovery of India, I would like to quote my favorite excerpt from this book. I feel this quote summarizes India as a whole. India is a geographical and economic entity, a cultural unity amidst diversity, a bundle of contradictions held together by strong but invisible threads. Overwhelmed again and again, her spirit was never conquered, and today, when she appears to be the plaything of a proud conqueror, she remains unsubdued and unconquered. From age to age, she has produced great men and women, carrying on the old tradition and yet ever adapting it to changing times. With this, I would like to end my video. Thank you.